Abrupt Decay, certainly something the Twin players don't prefer to see.
And Boswell only with 2 copies of Abrupt Decay in his main deck, but he's also playing 2 copies of Terminate, which are not quite as good as Abrupt Decay in the matchup, but close enough.
Yeah, Terminates are susceptible to some of the counter spells that Kevin plays. Has a copy of Dispel and Spell Snare, both pretty good there in his main deck.
So you see the standings here. Kevin Jones, 2nd place in the Season 1 standings, the player most likely to catch Jim Davis. And Andrew Boswell, on the back of a very good back half of 2014, has actually shot up all the way to 14th in the Season 1 standings.
All right, and we are underway. Kevin Jones on the play. He has a Grim Lavamancer. He was on 6 cards this game. Boswell kept a full 7, so he's down a couple, but a good start by him nonetheless. For Boswell, it'll just be Treetop Village.
Yep, and you can see Boswell's hand here, a lot of removal spells, Olivia at the ready, some lands, a slower hand.
Lavamancer swings in for 1, and Jones just passes back. He does have a copy of Snapcaster Mage and Pestermite in hand, so the Pestermite means half of his combo already in play. Has 2 red sources. He is a lot of the way there.
Though Pestermite is not the easiest way to win against this deck like Judd. You'd much rather be going off with Deceiver Exarch, because now Lightning Bolt and other small pieces of removal suddenly have to factor into your equation.
Now, on Boswell's side, if you look at his hand, he seems to be pretty heavy on lands. Maybe has a couple threats. I don't know how much control element he has in his hand to say. I suppose we will see that, as a lot of times these blue-red twin decks do put you to the test of having removal.
And in this kind of matchup where, you know, the games go on for a pretty long time, Kevin's already mulligan, you might see him try to stick a threat and go for it even in the face of potential removal spells. And Kevin's going to be, I think, more inclined to roll the dice here.
Yeah, fetch for a Swamp from Boswell. Yeah, and that turn 1 Grim Lavamancer, though, it does shut off some of the potential draws that Boswell could have. Maybe if he kept a hand on the strength of Dark Confidant, that's not really going to work here.
Yeah. I mean, these decks are not as good at filling up their graveyard as some of the legacy decks you see, but still, you have to respect the ability of Kevin to get one other card in the graveyard to pair with a Scalding Tarn.
Yeah, it does look like he has Tarmogoyf and Scavenging Ooze here, but actually both those could be shot down by this Grim Lavamancer. Right now, Tarmogoyf is just a 1/2.
Well, I think that Boswell's line here is to try to have this Tarmogoyf shot down by the Grim Lavamancer. He doesn't have a lot of juice for the Tarmogoyf anyway, so not something he's really leaning on. Then getting an opportunity to play Scavenging Ooze, exile the Tarmogoyf. Now you have a 3/3 against a Grim Lavamancer. Not a bad spot to be in.
Yeah, not a bad spot at all. We see a fetch for Steam Vents on the end step from Kevin. 1 card in his graveyard. Would need a second one from that Grim Lavamancer. Then again, if he has the right combination, Kevin may just go for the twin combo instead. Stand right now, 2 Snapcaster Mages, 2 lands, and a Pestermite. And here will be Misty Rainforest. That's land for the turn. And more importantly, it's the 2nd card in his graveyard.
Yep.
We'll see if he shoots down the Goyf. If he doesn't shoot down the Goyf and holds his Grim Lavamancer, then Boswell really can't play the Scavenging Ooze, right?
Right.
And the cost is only what? That Kevin takes 1 off Tarmogoyf? That doesn't even seem that bad. You see Pestermite untapping the red source. Kevin does shoot down Tarmogoyf now.
Like that line of play a lot there from Kevin. Very efficient. And means he can start pressuring Boswell on the turns where Boswell holds up mana.
Right.
And if Andrew ever taps low, then he can go for the kill.
Yeah, now he needs to do that play on his own turn, because otherwise Andrew might kill the Grim Lavamancer in response to the Pestermite trigger or something like that.
It gets all sorts of complicated if he allows Boswell to untap, because suddenly any instant in his hand grows the Tarmogoyf out of range.
See if Boswell, he does have Abrupt Decay, more lands, Scavenging Ooze, Olivia Voldaren actually in his hand. She could be pretty good this game.
Yeah, you know, Boswell probably doing the calculations right now of, you know, can I play around the possibility of dying? And if I'm willing to incur that cost, that risk, what's the best way to proceed from here?
Yeah, Kevin's hand is all X1s at the moment. Another, you know, he has Snapcaster Mages, Pestermites. We see another land from Andrew. He's going to leave up that 2 mana, does not want to be caught by a Splinter Twin just yet. And Tectonic Edge, the draw for Kevin Jones. And here's that game where the blue-red twin deck forces your opponent to leave up mana, and so you just start getting to aggro them.
Yep.
Yeah, Abrupt Decay takes down the Pestermite.
And with Bolts and Vendilion clicks is a very real plan for this deck.
Yeah. The draw for the turn for Kevin was Deceiver Exarch. His hand now just a ton of flash creatures. It's Exarch, Snapcasters. A lot of things to do on end step. Though no twin half to the combo. See, on Boswell's side, he's going to go ahead and start with, looks like Scavenging Ooze. He does not have another removal spell in hand, but Kevin doesn't know that, and that may just be enough.
Well, Boswell may feel like he has to preemptively get the Pestermite out of the graveyard to prevent Kevin from getting to his second card in the graveyard.
Yeah, he's going to go for the Pestermite. Kevin could tech edge something and try to, no, Lavamancer's tapped, so there's no play here. It's just going to get the use up to a 3/3.
Yeah,
I suppose Kevin could untap his Lavamancer. No, then he doesn't have 2 cards.
Yeah, he doesn't have another way to get a card in the graveyard.
He can't get the tech edge in the yard and get the Grim Lavamancer untapped. He's 1 mana short of that. So that'll just work. Scavenging Ooze moves up to a 3/3. Andrew gains a life. And you'll see here whether or not Jones puts that X-Arc into play on end step. It does give him a pretty good out if he draws Splinter Twin.
And it's pretty safe at this spot. You know, Boswell basically representing only something like Dismember as interaction. Lightning Bolt doesn't cut it, so I like getting it into play now.
He's going to go ahead and actually just tap Scavenging Ooze, making sure that even if he doesn't draw the Splinter Twin, at least he gets to attack. And it looks like that's what's going to happen. Kevin Jones' draw for the turn, Lightning Bolt. And Deceiver X-Arc crashes for 1. Does Kevin want to do more? No, that's going to be it.
Attention players, in 20 minutes at 6 o'clock, we will be
Can't actually Lightning Bolt the Scavenging Ooze either.
If you'd like to play,
Yeah, not this moment. If Boswell makes a move with that Wooded Foothills, then he can respond.
we have a few spots left.
Snapcaster, Lightning Bolt, the remaining cards in Kevin's hand.
We'd be happy to continue on these events. Once we get
So much instant speed play. He can try to look for an aggro plan here, but Boswell's at a pretty healthy life total.
I mean, the backup plan is something that's on the table, but not the preferred game plan against Jund.
Oh, and Kevin's actually going to go for a main phase Lightning Bolt on this Scavenging Ooze. It does mean if Andrew attempts to eat a creature, Boswell can tech edge Andrew and Grim Lavamance the Scavenging Ooze away.
Yeah, he can still kill it.
But at quite a cost.
But I think that Kevin sort of just wants to tech edge anyway.
Sure, if he's already committed to the line, then this seems acceptable.
Yeah.
Andrew goes ahead and fetches. Down to 16. We'll see if he takes the full 3.
1 force in the deck for him to go get.
Yeah. How many mountains does he actually have a basic mountain here?
Forest, Mountain, Swamp. He's got 1 of each.
Looks like he's looking for Blood Crypt. Guess one of the best ways to make yourself safe against tech edge is to just have a lot of duels.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want a lot of basics or a lot of duels. Stomping Ground will put Andrew down to 14, though this extra damage could add up.
You see a lot in Legacy deck lists. You know, you either want to have a bunch of basics to go get or none.
Yeah.
But the worst case scenario is you have a mixture. The Wasteland and Tech Edge takes care of your dual lands, and then you're left with basics that don't facilitate the spells in your hand.
So Andrew gains that life there to go into a 4/4, and Kevin is going to actually snapcast the Bolt to take care of Scavenging Ooze.
And I suppose if Kevin does not have another land in his hand, he doesn't want to Tech Edge at this stage because it means Splinter Twin is not a kill.
Yeah, if he draws Splinter Twin, he needs to make sure he can cast it.
That says it feels like there's been a lot of resources expended over a pretty trivial fight.
Right, and now he doesn't have that Lightning Bolt. You see Andrew Boswell just taps out for Olivia Voldaren. And if Kevin doesn't draw this Splinter Twin pronto, this Olivia's way out of control.
Yep. I mean, this guns down all the X1s, and if Boswell can get to 7 mana, that's just the lock.
Yeah. Looks like the draw for the turn was Scalding Tarn. Kevin maybe wanting that Lightning Bolt back. Gonna swing for 3. Boswell would.
I think we're gonna see.
Can't imagine he blocks.
I think we see a no blocks here.
That Grim Lavamancer on the table is all too dangerous. Yeah, Boswell goes down to 12, sure. And he's gonna get to untap with Olivia. That's huge.
Yep.
Scalding Tarn the play for Kevin. He's going to need to find a way to get 12 more points of damage across. But it's going to have to be almost all in the form of burn. These creatures are not long for the game.
And it doesn't take very long for Boswell to turn around and start threatening Kevin with a lot of damage.
Yeah, every time Olivia activates, she actually gets a 1/1 counter. So this is what, a 3-turn, maybe even 2-turn clock?
Right, I mean, the first activation pulls it out of bolt range. And then after that, it's
huge,
just speeding up the clock quite a bit.
Now we will see, now that Kevin has the 4th land in play, he doesn't need the Tech Edge. He's going to Tech Edge away a red source from Boswell, trying to keep that Olivia slow. Going to fetch as well. Remember, his last card is another Snapcaster Mage. Maybe he's just going to send the Grim Lavamancer triggers upstairs, even.
Well, the other option is he can hold up the Lavamancer to try to fizzle an Olivia shooting to allow himself another shot at Lightning Bolt to get the Olivia off the table. Because if that happens, Kevin can start playing Magic again.
Yeah. That is it's an interesting line. I'm interested to see if he takes it. There's some danger, right, though, because Andrew still has a lot of cards in hand. Even if Kevin answers this Olivia, it's not guaranteed he can answer the rest of Andrew's hand.
Well, he needs to give himself a shot to answer the Olivia, so Splinter Twin is still a draw, because if something happens to Deceiver Exarch and all this,
then we're done.
Right. So if the rest of Boswell's hands are creatures, you don't really care too much about that. If Boswell wants to tap out for that kind of stuff, that's okay. As long as your Deceiver Exarch stays alive, you still got a shot in this game.
All right, draw for turn, Wooded Foothills from Boswell. See Liliana, Kitchen Finks, Tarmogoyf, Wooded Foothills, all available to him. Not to mention those activated abilities of Olivia Voldaren, which may be his most powerful spells of all right now. He is going to lead off by shooting away the Grim Lavamancer. The line you're talking about there where Kevin fizzles an activation, we'll see if he does it. This Grim Lavamancer can shoot Andrew or shoot itself. And it's going to go at Andrew. He's down to 9. The Kitchen Finks in Andrew's hand, doing a lot of work here too. And we'll see Wooded Foothills getting cracked. So Olivia Voldaren, you see over on the left, she's the mythic rare from Innistrad. For 1 mana, she deals the damage to any other creature. So basically the flavor is she vampire bites the creature, so it becomes a vampire. And then Olivia gets a 1/1 counter.
Yep.
And also she can gain control of any vampire for as long as she's in play.
Yeah, so basically, the activated power, the first one, very good against small creatures, and then once someone hits 7 mana, the 2 powers in tandem allow control magic with buyback.
And we have here, it's going to be a second shoot, takes down the other X1. Olivia swings for 5, Kevin goes to 10.
Yeah, and I believe Kevin decided not to shoot his own creature because Boswell had the requisite red mana left over to shoot something else. So at that point, just hope that the burnout plan still stays alive somehow.
And Deceiver Exarch swings Andrew's down to 7.
No.
This may be it, though. Andrew does Sulfur Falls. I think Liliana can clean it up.
Right. I still think there's an argument for fizzling in that spot because now Kevin's on 10. He was on 15 last turn, and Olivia's a 5/5. So by not shooting, you're probably cutting the game by about a full turn.
Well, if Andrew goes for the Edict, plays Liliana -2, he should be able to get all of Kevin's permanents.
Yeah.
Olivia swings for 5. Kevin goes to 5.
And he can hold up a red mana and a colorless, so Pestermite's not an issue. So it would have to be Deceiver Exarch as your draw step this turn, untap, draw Splinter Twin.
Exactly. See if he makes the Liliana. He may just be going for a Tarmogoyf instead.
Well, with no other protection in his hand, he has no removal for this Exarch. I think he's got to try to kill it.
It certainly is the safest play. It's just going to be Tarmogoyf. Looks like instead he's making sure that he can secure that next turn kill. And this may be a little bit of a misstep on Andrew's part. He's sequenced. He's going to go for the Liliana afterward.
Right.
And now Kevin gets to flash in the Snapcaster Mage. This does mean that if Kevin draws Splinter Twin, he can steal the game.
And this is the spot where if he had left up the 2 mana for Olivia, he would not have to worry about this sequence.
All right, Serum Visions with 4 mana up. Is it going to be Splinter Twin? Doesn't seem like it. Kevin's the greatest.
slow roller of all time if he actually has
didn't
it.
draw it. Yeah.
So yeah, I think in that spot I would have preferred Boswell to just leave up the 2 mana. That said, if it wasn't Splinter Twin this turn, he's fine.
Both go on the bottom here. Kevin at 5 life. This is going to be a hard turn for him to survive. He'll pass back. And that 5 damage in the air should just about take care of it. Maybe Kevin's draw is a Pestermite.
I mean, Andrew
If
can
it's
just...
Pestermite,
Well, Andrew can just start off the action by plussing Liliana, see what's going on.
well, if it's Pestermite, hold on. Kevin gets to survive, doesn't he? Tarmogoyf's only a 4/5. It taps the Olivia. Kevin takes 4. Unless Andrew has another way to grow that Tarmogoyf, Kevin gets another turn. And he kept a card on top with that Serum Visions.
Yeah.
It's another Deceiver Exarch. And this may have just been it for Kevin. He taps Olivia. Liliana pluses. She discards Kitchen Finks. That's not enough to grow the Tarmogoyf. If that next card's a Splinter Twin, Kevin will still get it.
Yeah. I mean, it says a lot about the resilience of this deck that Andrew's had removal spells. Olivia's been in play for a while when Kevin had very little going on, just a bunch of X1s, and Kevin's still drawing live on the last turn here.
Yeah, 2 more mana from Andrew would close it off. Then Olivia could bite and steal something. But there does not seem to be any defense for Kevin. Or for Andrew rather, and he knows that he's in trouble. Kevin did keep a card on top. And I have to think there's very few cards Kevin would top here other than Splinter Twin.
Yep. No,
if any, I don't even, yeah.
Cryptic Command.
Probably. All right, well, here we go. Treetop Village and Tarmogoyf are going to swing in. Kevin's going to have to block one of them. Don't know if it matters which one. He's at 5, so he should be okay. He's going to lose whichever Exarch blocks, though. If he blocks both of them, however, he's going to lose both his creatures, right?
Well, Boswell would have to have red mana left over.
Oh, is there no red under that swamp?
I believe it is Swamp Overgrown Tomb.
Okay. What a good slow roll. What if post-combat Boswell just plays a mountain?
It's pretty awesome.
I mean,
I don't know. It's pretty awesome. I think that if the top card of Kevin's deck was Splinter Twin, though, he would not even think about risking his second Exarch in combat.
And he decides not to. He's going to go ahead. So Kevin goes to 1. He takes the Tarmogoyf hit. Olivia finishes off the first Deceiver Exarch. Andrew's tapped out. Does Kevin have this? Here we go. It's Desolate Lighthouse.
Yep. But a great job by Kevin there, playing on. I mean, he gave himself quite a few looks at it.
Yeah, he was playing on borrowed time there.
Right. Looked like Boswell had the game pretty firmly locked up, and Kevin was still able to battle on for a couple turns, give himself an opportunity to maybe draw Splinter Twin.
All right, so Boswell up 1-0 right now. Jund taking the game 1 over Splinter Twin in what's a pretty tight matchup. Now, one thing we want to talk about, we've had our Star City game schedule for the rest of the year been announced. We've told you about quarter 2, quarter 3. Wondering when is Star City Games Open Series going to be in your area? Well, we have the 4th quarter schedule posted as well. And we're going to go ahead and look at that. We start to make our way west, going through the Midwest, with another Modern Open in the beginning of September in Cincinnati.
Yeah, after that, we go to Worcester for Standard, Milwaukee, and Indianapolis after that. The weekend after that will be in Atlanta for Standard Open, St. Louis for Legacy 2 weekends after that. Modern again in Dallas, a Standard Open in Philadelphia, November 7th and 8th. After that, we head over to Atlanta for a limited Grand Prix, a Legacy Open Series in New Jersey. Denver for the first time in several years for a Standard Open. And then the Season 4 Invitational in Seattle, Washington, Standard as the Open Series format and Standard and Modern as the Invitational formats. Me, you, and Cedric will be in the booth. And then after that, of course, the 2015 Players Championship in Roanoke, Virginia, December 19th and 20th.
Yeah, and as you remember, with the invitationals, it is structured so that if you're wondering what are we playing at our invitationals, for the first quarter and third quarter, it will be Standard and Legacy, and for the second and fourth, it will be Standard and Modern. So if you win one IQ near you, you may want to factor that in planning which invitational you're going to go to.
Yeah, so for all you Modern enthusiasts, we have a bunch of Modern Open Series available. We'll be running a Modern Grand Prix. Modern will be a supported format at the invitationals, both as an Open Series format and as part of the invitational itself. And of course, we are very happy with the extremely strong showing here in Baltimore this weekend. 762 players coming out for a 2-day Modern Open Series event, the first time in Star City Games history.
All right, well, going on to game 2, Kevin Jones down a game with Blue Red Twin. We'll start with his sideboard. What weapons does he have against Jund? One of the ones that I'm sure Boswell is expecting, that's 2 copies of Blood Moon, which certainly would be good against his mana base.
Although Boswell can do a lot to take the wind out of the sails of that card. He does have a bunch of basics in his deck, so if he's conscious of it, he can play around Blood Moon pretty effectively.
Yeah, so Blood Moon, copies of, if he wants to go bigger, he has copies of Keranos, God of Storms, Batterskull, Jace, Architect of Thought, and can even go down with something like Spellskite or Dispel for the matchup.
I do like bringing in the bigger stuff because Boswell's probably overloading on more removal. And the game's going to be played, it's going to be a protracted affair. It's going to be very rare for Kevin to just be able to go turn 3 creature, turn 4 twin, kill you. And when the matchups look like that post board, you often want to go to things like Keranos, Batterskull, Jace, Architect of Thought, these hard to kill card advantage engines against decks like Jund. We've even seen Batterskull just win games on its own. You don't even have to go for the combo.
Yeah, so you talked about Andrew going to even more kill spells. Well, what does that look like on his side? 2
copies of Ancient Grudge, a Shatterstorm, a Grim Lavamancer, 4 copies of Fulminator Mage, 3 copies of Huntmaster of the Fells, a Sword of Light and Shadow, a Duress, a Thoughtseize, and a Slaughter Pact. Actually pretty light for this kind of matchup. As we mentioned before, not even capping out on the full playset of Abrupt Decay, just 2 of those alongside 2 Terminates. I like Duress, Thoughtseize, and Slaughter Pact in this matchup.
Slaughter Pact is excellent against Twin.
It wouldn't also surprise me to see Boswell bring in maybe one, maybe both of the Ancient Grudges, anticipating Spellskite, and then some big artifact stuff in the board as well. Sometimes you see things like Batterskull coming out of these decks.
Yeah, I was actually going to wonder whether or not you think he boards in Ancient Grudge just in anticipation of a card like Spellskite.
I think, 1 copy is reasonable. I think both is a little excessive. I could also just see 0 coming in.
Yeah, I suppose grudging a spell. How bad is it if Spellskite eats 1 removal spell? I mean, if you're planning to board in a lot of removal anyway, maybe that's just a price you pay.
Right, well, Boswell's removal suite here. 2 copies of Maelstrom Pulse, 2 Terminate, 2 Abrupt Decay, 5 discard spells, 4 Lightning Bolts. Bolts don't kill everything. Maelstrom Pulse is sorcery speed. So it's okay against Twin, but you're looking for instants that kill anything. And then you have the Terminates and the Abrupt Decays, those are just good, and the discard spells as well, so. I would definitely be surprised if both Grudges came in. I think 1 is defensible.
Looking at the cards he boards out, Andrew does have, I would think, with the higher end sorcery, so things like Kitchen Finks, Chandra Pyromaster, those things seem, you just don't want to tap out like that against Twin.
Well, I think that, something like Kitchen Finks, I'm not a big fan of in the matchup, but you saw that game there. Kevin had, and these lists of Twin honestly have a lot of one-toughness creatures, and they're converting into beatdown decks post-board a good percentage of the time, especially in matchups where they anticipate the combo's not going to be good. You saw Grim Lavamancer, Snapcaster Mage. We know Pastermite's in the deck. Very likely Vendilion Click is hanging out somewhere on the list. I think Chandra might actually be okay.
I suppose Olivia was just a huge beating because she did 1 damage. Chandra is similar that way.
Now, the low impact 3 and 4 mana spells you have to play on your own turn. Kitchen Finks is the one that most notably comes to mind. I think those kind of cards have to go, but it wouldn't surprise me if the 1 Chandra stayed in. And if Kevin starts converting into a pure, card advantage control kind of game, which the Twin decks often do, then Chandra just zeroing a bunch of times might be all right as well.
Interesting to see how both players, how this matchup changes. It doesn't seem like either player, despite the fact that these are like, black-green X, I suppose, and Twin are 2 of the top decks in the format, neither of them seems to really be gunning for the other guy in the sideboard.
No, not really. The 4 Fulminator Mages, I think that's a sign of where Andrew's priorities are. The matchups that are about doing powerful stuff with lands, whether it be Amulet of Vigor or Tron, probably not a good matchup for Jund.
No, you need, especially against Tron, you need to have Fulminators if you want to get that one.
And back a couple years ago when Jund was very popular in Modern, and as was Tron, you even saw these decks pack Sowing Salt in the sideboard. So the matchups that involve lands being powerful, typically not good for Jund, and that's where you see a lot of Boswell sideboard space taken up.
Yeah. So notes from across the room, Jeff Hoagland, our first player to move to 7-0 and lock his spot in day 2. He's with a Blue Moon Tarmogoyf deck. We actually got that one on a deck tech, so hopefully we'll have that one for you today.
Locking up a spot in day 2, and he works hard at this format. He loves it, so good to see that get paid off.
Modern certainly is a format that rewards knowledge and practice, much like Legacy. Game 2 underway here, though. Kevin starts off with Island and just a fetch and Serum Visions into a fetch land, whereas this time it's Boswell who has the Grim Lavamancer. I figure that's got to be pretty good on his side of the table as well.
Well, I mean, when we saw Kevin's deck game 1, all those one-toughness creatures, Lavamancer could play a huge role.
We're back over to Boswell. Just kind of developing. You see, looks like Boswell certainly has converted into a heavier removal deck. A lot more removal on his side. At least in the hand he's kept here. Lightning Bolt in his hand. Liliana, more lands. I believe another black kill spell too. I think he's just 2 kill spells and a Liliana.
Very hard to lean on the combo in this kind of matchup. And Jund is just a deck historically flush with a lot of removal spells, so. Trying to just slap an enchantment on your creature, it'll work some games, but you're better served trying to come up with a new game plan. Or at least having a different way to go. Not a completely different game plan, but at least a secondary game plan.
Kevin Jones mindful, just getting basics here. See, he has gotten some control elements of his own. See a copy of Negate in his hand. Looks like he brought those in out of the sideboard to try to fight through the removal as best he can. Third land into play, and he'll just pass. It's great how much pressure Twin creates just by leaving up mana.
Cedric was talking to me about this being the most stressful deck to play against in Legacy. Because you just never know when you're good.
It's the worst. You're just there, okay, am I going to die this turn? I mean, can I play around the natural turn 4? You really would hate to have a kill spell in your hand and lose to a guy who kept 5 lands, Deceiver, Exarch, Splinter Twin.
Right.
You'd really feel foolish to lose to that hand.
And you can see Boswell now totally protected from Blood Moon. A Swamp in play, a Forest in play, and of course, any Blood Moon effect is just going to turn his non-basics into mountains.
When I play against Twin, I feel like I just wish I always have Jataxian Probe in my hand. I feel like I could play so much better if I just knew.
If you just knew what was up?
Yeah. Like we see Liliana here. I mean, there's a chance, right, that he would play Liliana and then Kevin would, and then die.
Right. Well, Boswell's being a little bit more aggressive about tapping out right now because he has Slaughter Pact in hand. So,
and that's I think one of the reasons Slaughter Pact is just so excellent here.
Yeah, I mean, 3 mana for a removal effect isn't even the end of the world, and the fact that you can do it for 0 mana, advance your board with your creatures, and still have protection, it's so valuable against Twin.
And there's also the knowledge here. So Kevin spent a negate on the Liliana. You have to think this means Kevin just simply does not have the combo. If he had the combo, he would let it resolve and go for it.
Yes.
Almost certainly. Slaughter Pact being, I believe, the only card in the format that could stop out of Jund that could stop that play.
Out of Jund, yeah. I mean, there's probably some oddballs I'm not thinking of. Your opponent,
yeah.
All of your opponents could always have Disrupting Shoal and a blue card. So
Okay.
theoretically, right. There's something. But yeah, in general, yes.
I guess, yeah, he could Sickening Shoal it. There you go. That's pitching Olivia. You'd never see it coming. We see Sower of Temptation, the cast by Kevin. So it certainly has gone to his larger threats game plan. Taking Andrew's copy of Grim Lavamancer, deciding he much preferred the games where Grim Lavamancer was on his side of the table.
Though Sower of Temptation against Jund does not have a great success rate.
No, not really. I mean, I think Kevin, he has to go for this play because if Andrew's not tapped out when he goes for it, then Sower's really embarrassing.
Oh, I think the play is fine from Kevin. It's just Sower of Temptation historically has not done a lot of work against the old Lightning Bolt Terminate deck.
And Lightning Bolt it is. 2 mana up. Andrew will go ahead and pass the turn back to Kevin. You see Kevin now with a Negate, a Jace, Architect of Thought. A copy of Splinter Twin, so half the combos there. Misty Rainforest as well. And Jace not too shabby on this board, though it's got the dilemma where you don't want to plus it and you don't want to minus it.
Yeah, I mean, Jace is okay. Kevin, in either case, can position the game in such a way where he gets to use the minus power on it once, but he's unlikely to do much beyond that.
Yeah, he pluses the Jace. There's the worry, right, that Andrew just Maelstrom pulses it.
Right.
And then you get nothing. I guess you get a Maelstrom pulse. You could do worse.
But Boswell, again, just has such a liberty to be aggressive with everything he does right now because of Slaughter Pact. Just such a powerful insurance policy to have.
You see here, tapped Stomping Ground to just pass back. And this actually looks pretty decent for Kevin. He's going to get to untap with this Jace. Now, if he minuses the Jace, Andrew will just end step, shoot the Jace, and then shoot the Jace.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, right? It just seems like there's so much work that's going to take to make this Jace ever actually draw a card.
Well, he always gets to cash in for the minus power once. Past
Right.
that,
Yeah, to run away with the game, the way you think of Jace the Mind Sculptor in Legacy, right? Oh, I got 3 activations off my Jace, game over.
Right.
This guy doesn't do that, at least not here.
No, not quite. But if he did that, then you would not be allowed to play with it. So, kind of goes both ways.
Hey, when Jund was first around, the deck was fine against Jace the Mind Sculptor.
That's true. Blinding and Bloodbraid Elf.
Yeah. I suppose one of those is banned right now in Modern, so that's one banned card for another. It's going to Serum Visions, and now Jace will minus. Andrew, knowing one of the cards is Flame Slash, may just take the Flame Slash.
Yeah, at this point I feel like Flame Slash is probably more important than the Remand.
Even if a land comes with it?
I don't know how much the mana is worth at this point. I guess the 6 mana is relevant for the purposes of getting to negate plus Splinter Twin in the same turn.
Sure.
But Kevin's already got that lined up.
When the decision is to put the Flame Slash with the land, then this becomes even easier.
I believe so.
Legacy Challenge players, you're nearing
Now-
your 3rd round. Are about to be posted.
Now, these guys are playing on a different level. There's something else going on here, though. Andrew puts the Remand by itself. Not only that, but Kevin goes ahead and takes the Remand. Kevin not trying to protect this Jace in the least.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, he does have the shot there. If he kills the Grim Lavamancer, Jace only goes down to 1, and then he might be good. Although
Maybe a couple turns down the road, you get some more cards.
Yeah, maybe. Though, if that was the play here from Kevin, then he gets kind of the best of both worlds. Now he has Remand protection, the Lavamancer's dead, and there's the hope that Jace can run away with the game.
He had the Dismember here, and that does really seem like the best one. So Dismember takes care of the Grim Lavamancer. Jace drops to 1. Kevin left with a hand of Remand, Splinter Twin, Negate. It is just waiting for an Exarch before he can go. And Andrew out of removal. He's just going to have to try for the trumps. That's going to be Olivia Voldaren. It's going to get remanded. Kevin cannot protect himself from Olivia forever. However, he does remand into remand there, so
Ugh.
I don't know, right? That's
Having some flashbacks.
remember remand drawing remand. What's not fun about that? Kevin's draw for the turn is Desolate Lighthouse, and he'll pass. Can help him dig even farther. Andrew cracking a fetch land. Needing some action. Next turn, Kevin gets to minus the Jace again. Olivia still not sticking. See whether Kevin cashes in the Jace again on 2 or whether he actually tries to continue just the activations. Going up to 3 is certainly greedy, but maybe he could get rewarded.
I think the way that Kevin's deck is set up here, that just carrying in while the getting's good seems to make sense to me.
And at 10 a.m. you'll have a Legacy
Just draw your cards.
registrations for
Yeah, between Desolate Lighthouse helps turn your bad cards into more cards, so just quantity seems more important.
Right.
come up to the right side.
And this is going to be Olivia again. It'll be remanded.
Grab it back.
Boswell did pick up, in addition to a Slaughter Pact though, he did pick up a copy of Abrupt Decay. So he actually has double removal spell if Kevin actually goes for the combo.
Once again, if you'd
But this is the power of swapping up the deck here, is Andrew flush with removal, but Kevin can turn the game into about something else, about things like Battered Skull, Keranos. He doesn't have to try to go for any sort of combo.
Speaking of that, Kevin on his end step looted with the Desolate Lighthouse. He looted away at Floated Foothills and got a Blood Moon. Now, fortunately for Andrew, he has an Abrupt Decay, so he's not just going to die to it, but that will certainly take one of those cards out of Andrew's hand.
Well, I mean, Boswell is still on Basic Swamp, Basic Forest, so he doesn't necessarily have to move.
Oh, the swamp, yeah, at the bottom of that stack, there is the basic swamp hiding.
And I actually think the Desolate Lighthouse right now is so good for Kevin that
it's-
Blood Moon's
yeah.
off the table.
So you think he loots it away?
Well, I think he doesn't want to show it to Boswell either. So he's in this weird spot where he doesn't want to cast it, nor
Yeah.
does he want to loot it away.
Gonna go ahead and discard the Blood Moon. Denial of information is good, but quality cards winning the day. So he's gonna start by looting here. He has the Jace. How much does he want to go for here? I don't believe Kevin has another answer to the Olivia. Does Jace go to 3 or 0? It's a close call for Kevin Jones.
I think that if he activated the Desolate Lighthouse, then he's probably plussing. Because if he
No,
was
it's
going to minus the
3, yeah.
Jace, he would do that as the first order of business.
Absolutely right. So, Jace goes to 3. He's going to go ahead and pass. Andrew still continues to crack fetch lands, getting the lands out of his deck. getting his mana more fixed. There is some drawback also to the Blood Moon in this matchup. The fact that red is one of Jund's colors.
Yeah, it's not nearly as good as it is against Abzan for a number of reasons. And Boswell's deck with the basic swamp and the basic forest is...
That's enough.
Yeah.
You're giving him a bunch of mountains with a swamp and a forest. Andrew can do... There are worse things. And Andrew's still drawing more lands. But it looks like he will finally get to stick this Olivia. And there she is. This time it's going to stick. Andrew plays a 4th land. Once Andrew holds up 8, Kevin needs to be careful because then suddenly Deceiver Exarching doesn't really work anymore.
Yep, it is the lock of sorts.
Jace, -2. What do we have here? We have Pestermite, Stomping Ground, and Snapcaster Mage. Snapcaster's got to be the prize here.
Yeah, with that graveyard full of counter spells and...
Well, just to be sure it was the right choice, Kevin's going to go ahead and check out the graveyard, but...
Hard to imagine Pestermite in the face of Olivia Voldaren is better than a Snapcaster Mage, but I guess you can never be too sure.
Now, does Kevin, if he has a card like Flame Slash in his graveyard, he can take care of the Olivia here. But Lightning Bolt won't do it because Olivia can kill the Snapcaster. She can only deal 1 damage to other creatures, though. She can't bite herself to get counters. Very thematic for a vampire.
Right. Also, that play pattern would stink.
So traditionally, once if you're a vampire and you turn me into a vampire, if you turn someone into a vampire, do you control their mind also? Are they your servant?
I think that it depends on the lore. In some vampire sort of deals, the person just becomes some sort of thrall, just a slave, and in some of them, they just become fully formed vampires with full agency.
Okay, so Olivia's got to be from the lore where she gets to control the vampires she makes?
It seems that way. I don't know for sure.
I was wondering about that, yeah.
But I've
the rest of her cards very flavorful. You know, she bites them, she makes her grow stronger, they turn into a vampire.
I've seen the mythology of vampires executed both ways, so.
All right. On Kevin, Andrew's turn, still more lands for Andrew, but he's hanging on with the help of that Slaughter Pact and Abrupt Decay. And Olivia's going to go at Jace. Here's Snapcaster Mage. Now, we'll see what it's targeting. Looks like something blue. Oh, it's going to be Dismember. There's still a Dismember in his yard, right? Okay, so that should take care of Olivia. She'll go ahead and bite the Snapcaster Mage, so they both die. Kevin actually at 6 life right now.
I thought you were going to say bite the dust, and then I was going to go ha-ha vampire joke, but then you actually just made a vampire joke, so that's ruined. Never mind.
Oh, man. Yeah, at 6 life, though, Andrew does play Lightning Bolts, right? So he could just cheese out this win.
Well, Kevin's still sitting on negate.
Okay.
So it's unlikely.
We're going to 5. We're getting closer. How much of this damage has Andrew actually dealt? Any? There's no way. Did Kevin do all this to himself?
That seems really hard for me to believe, but...
It's 8 from Dismembers.
Yep. Bunch of fetch lands.
Only 1 shock. Did he fetch 5 times? If he fetched 5 times, that's the full 15.
Wow. Modern is the format of dealing damage to yourself. More than any other.
15 is a huge number. Well, let's keep at it. Here's Scalding Tarn. 2.16. Another land for Kevin. I was surprised to see him play lands with Desolate Lighthouse in play. He's building up towards something, to be sure.
Well, he's still got another land left in his hand. So he's at least got 1 loot covered for. But yeah, I don't know if he needs much more mana beyond this. I don't know, the Twin decks, when you're trying to stick one of your threats with backups like Negate and Cryptic Command and Snapcaster Mage, you do need a lot of lands.
We're just in game 2 here. Andrew Boswell took the first game over Kevin Jones. Just under 11 minutes remaining in the round. So Draw for the turn. Finally, Andrew stops drawing lands. This time he draws Thoughtseize. Opting not to cast it, I don't think.
Well, Kevin gets a look at so many cards between the Lighthouse and Jace that I like holding on to the Thoughtseize until you're going to try to push something through, especially because Boswell is at no immediate risk of dying between the Slaughter Pact and Abrupt Decay in his hand.
Yeah, both players flooding here. Kevin with a lot more agency to weather that, though. Yeah, he's still drawing lands, but yeah, he has Jace, he has Desolate Lighthouse. He'll get to the spells eventually. Main phase, he's going to Desolate Lighthouse. That's another copy of Blood Moon. Because you kind of mentioned the Lighthouse is really good here. You're not sure you want to Blood Moon it.
No, I don't think he wants to.
Plays another land, passes the turn. One of the cure names, I've heard the Desolate Lighthouse called the Loot House before.
It's not bad.
Yeah. Boswell's another land, Wooded Foothills.
Yeah, I mean, he's made quite the effort to get lands into his deck, but has still drawn
He has
quite a few.
10 in play, I believe 4 more in the graveyard, five more in the graveyard. I don't even see the 2 up top. That's a lot. It's all business from here on out. Jace -3 shows Serum Vision, Snapcaster Mage, and Sulfur Falls. And Kevin gonna check his graveyard before making a call here.
Is Snapcaster better than a random card? I think the answer is yes.
With this much mana, Snapcaster is it's just whatever card you want it to be, isn't it?
I was being facetious. Just take the Snapcaster Mage. All right, I like that he took Snapcaster Mage.
If you're Kevin though, how do you get through this Abrupt Decay? It seems like, does he just chip? Is he chipping damage? Is this every Snapcaster is going to end step start lightning bolting Andrew? Is that where we're at? Where we are?
No, not quite.
Like something like the combo still, even though Kevin has all these cards, it still seems really hard.
I don't think he needs to. He can just win by going to Snapcaster plus bolts or whatever he wants to do whenever he feels like it. Right now, Boswell is not putting him under any pressure to do anything.
Boswell, though, finally does get some pressure. Here comes Thoughtseize. He drew Tarmogoyf for the turn. That'll get the negate from Kevin. This late in the game, you pretty much always negate the Thoughtseize.
Yeah. I mean, Kevin wants to keep his hand concealed as much as possible.
Yeah, that information's pretty valuable right now. And now does Andrew go for the Tarmogoyf? No, it's too valuable. He wants more protection for it.
Well, he also knows about the Snapcaster Mage, so it's, Andrew is just stuck here waiting.
Well, what is the snap? Is there a hard counter in Kevin's yard?
There's at least a Remand and possibly something else that I have.
All right. Well, Remand.
Forgotten about at this point.
I don't know if he actually can counter the Tarmogoyf. Now, that doesn't mean that Andrew's supposed to jam it, but... Yeah, we'll go ahead and loot away. Kevin will loot away that other Blood Moon as well. Draw for turn is Cryptic Command. That's a huge draw, considering as a Snapcaster Mage, that's like drawing 2 Cryptic Commands.
Now, that's a combo deck I can get behind. Is Cryptic Command Snapcaster Mage.
I feel like that draw pushes Kevin over the top.
Yeah.
At 1 card a turn, it's hard to see Andrew ever getting through this. He's going to go for the Tarmogoyf this turn, but it may have been a turn too late. Kevin now does have the Cryptic Command. And it's going to be counter draw. To be fair, even if he makes the Tarmogoyf last turn, Kevin can still bounce draw, counter draw.
Yeah, it doesn't matter all that much.
Yeah, the Cryptic Command still is excellent for Kevin. With this on the stack, Andrew's going to make a go for it. Lightning Bolt pointed upstairs at Kevin, trying to deal the lethal damage. And it's when Kevin lets it resolve, and Andrew will then choose to redirect it to Jace.
Yeah. I mean, perhaps at this point, hoping that Abrupt Decay and Slaughter Pact really prevent Kevin from doing much of anything. He may not be able to win the game is the hope.
Yeah, Kevin can still, he can't just chip on end steps, right? He can just start, he still feels like his win con is just to Lightning Bolt Andrew a bunch and attack some.
Or just cast Deceiver Exarch and never go for the combo.
Just hit him for 1.
Yeah.
Treetop Village, the draw for Andrew. 5.5 minutes remaining in the round. End step loot from Kevin. He now has at least 2, maybe 3 lightning bolts in hand. Draws another lightning bolt. I mean, if you're Andrew, you know you've lost this game, right?
Right. I think he's maybe hoping that, Kevin doesn't have enough burn or removal to win the game in time, as time is now a factor.
Yeah, Kevin actually, it wasn't a lightning bolt, it was, apologies, it was a flame slash. He actually just discarded it on end step. Andrew's gonna try for something else. Here comes, fires up a treetop village. That's gonna swing. Or rather, that's gonna get bolted. I'm interested in how Kevin's planning to win this one. Not, just, it certainly seems like he can. He just has to choose how. It's not that way. Down to 4 minutes. Serum Visions was the draw. He'll cast it.
Do you think these decks can maybe afford to have a second copy of Desolate Lighthouse on the sideboard? In these matchups, it feels like so powerful.
You may just want to main deck it.
Well, I don't know. The Tectonic Edge does some different things, and Kevin's on a split of 1 Tectonic Edge, 1 Desolate Lighthouse. You can only afford so many colorless lands when you have Cryptic Command and Splinter Twin in your deck.
I feel like the difference is that the game's Tectonic Edge is good, it's good, and the game's Desolate Lighthouse is good, it's absolutely backbreaking, which would make me just want to play more Lighthouses, but I trust the people who, the people who've won big events with this deck certainly have to.
Tectonic Edge also has its moments of being absolute backbreaker too, so.
I always like looting. If you ask me if I want to blow up your land or draw a card, I'm going to always answer draw a card.
Sure. Well, and I like blowing up lands.
Right.
So. We've reached an impasse.
Snapcaster. Kevin's going Inquisition on the stack. Kevin's going to go for something here. It's going to be a Snapcaster and looks like Cryptic Command.
It's a combo deck. The combo is
blue stuff with blue stuff.
Snapcaster Mage and Cryptic Command. That's the combo. It's very powerful together.
No, they're great together.
Unlike many other combo decks, their pieces are actually fine by themselves as well.
Scavenging Ooze the play for Boswell. This one might resolve. How much green is up for Boswell, though? I don't think it's too terribly much. Maybe Kevin can deal with it. This seems like Andrew's last shot of stalling out the game, is this Scavenging Ooze.
Right. I mean, he's still sitting on Abrupt Decay and Slaughter Pack, so, Kevin going for the combo kill is very challenging. If the Ooze gets into play, all right, well, that's some life gain. You make a big body, maybe push outside of removal range.
And it does resolve, though. Peak. Nope, just going to untap. Yeah, Kevin needs to make sure he can kill Andrew here. He does have a lot of lightning bolts in hand.
That's the thing. Kevin has so many bolts in his hand that he can even just bolt the Scavenging Ooze 2 or 3 times, whatever it takes.
But if he does that, how's he killing Andrew anymore? Does he have to worry about decking here? I don't know. I don't know how many cards are left. It can't be that many. There are 2 minutes remaining in the round. So I think a while ago Kevin decided he was playing for this draw.
Well, I don't know if that was necessarily the case. I think that he's just trying to be super, super certain that.
Right, but I mean, if he was trying to win game 3, he may have just thrown caution to the wind and tried to win this one quickly.
This game's also been pretty complicated. So, and Kevin is not
doesn't go faster than that.
Kevin is not the world's fastest player either. So, I don't think there was any sort of trying to manage the clock in that sense. I think it's a complicated game, and Kevin's not trying to mess it up.
I know when I played combo decks, I've certainly been in a spot where I'm down a game. I say oh, hey, 10 minutes left in the round. Well, okay, time to jam. And I just start, I stop playing around anything because, I need to win game 3.
Right.
And here we go. A pair of lightning bolts are going to take out the Scavenging Ooze. Andrew at 16, it's healthy. A minute remaining. Maybe Andrew can pull this out. There can't be that many lightning bolts left. And it looks like Dark Confidant the play from Andrew. Sure, Andrew has plenty of cards left in his deck. Confidant's great. Peak on end step. He gets to see Slaughter Pact, Abrupt Decay. The coast is never going to be clear. Not in the face of Abrupt Decay. So it seems like it would be almost a certainty that Abrupt Decay was in Andrew's hand at this point.
Yeah.
Kevin will go ahead and loot. You might see him do something like Splinter Twin on Snapcaster Mage to try to get an Abrupt Decay out of Andrew's hand.
Yeah, it's a way of getting a Decay out of the hand without having to use your Deceiver Exarch.
Right.
It leaves you with Exarch and Twin against counterable removal.
All right, Andrew down to swinging. It's going to go to 14. It's time called here. This is turn 0. Kevin's going to have to win very quickly here.
And he's used a lot of bolts, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's going to do it in time. Andrew is at 14, though. Draws for the turn. Chandra Pyromaster, a great draw for Boswell. And she'll get cast here. You know, one thing, I want to point out a line that Kevin could have played to. He could have, if you want, he can negate this, get around the Slaughter Pact by, he could somehow bait a situation that Andrew plays Slaughter Pact, and then post-combat play Blood Moon Cryptic Bounce your Swamp.
Sure.
I mean, it's a way to win without damage because I don't know if Kevin has enough damage to win anymore. But if he can somehow induce Andrew to play the Slaughter Pact, there's a shot there. Chandra comes into play. She's going to take out Snapcaster Mage. Kevin goes down to 4. And it seems like Boswell has maybe pulled out what I kind of thought was impossible here. I thought, you know, I talked before, does Boswell know this game is over? And he said, yeah. Maybe it's not.
Well, I mean, I think left to his
Infinite
own
turns.
I think left to infinite turns, Kevin still has a pretty big edge, but it may not matter. And Vendilion Click is a very good way of opening up the action here.
Yeah, Kevin's going to play that one on end step. Does that get the Abrupt Decay or the Slaughter Pact? Kevin, I think, takes care of. He's going to get rid of the Slaughter Pact.
Well, it's. I think it's all the same because he has 2 creatures to put in the play, and he has 2 copies of Splinter Twin.
Okay, he's putting Pestermite into play. He's going to tap Andrew off the mana to play. All right, looks like he's going to tap him off the mana to play Abrupt Decay.
Right. And the Slaughter Pact is 0 mana to play, so it's the more dangerous piece of disruption at this point.
All right. Slaughter Pact will take care of Deceiver Exarch. So he's going to put both into play, untap, and now, yeah, he will twin the Pestermite. All right, looting here first. Discarding Batterskull and a land. And a Splinter Twin on Pestermite. And that's going to be it. Kevin in extra turns takes game 2 to force the draw between them.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if they actually decide to play it out here, but unless Andrew Boswell's Jund deck is capable of a turn 2 kill, which does not appear to be the case, we're gonna be looking at a draw.
Yeah. Well played by both of them there. A epic game 2, really. Kevin really riding that Desolate Lighthouse through the game, but shows just how hard it is to play around things like Slaughter Pact and Abrupt Decay.